Yesterday, the American Academy of Pediatrics, along with the American Medical Association and the Children's Hospital Association, collectively published a letter which was addressed to the Department of Justice and which calls for me to be prosecuted and thrown in federal prison. So just another day at the office, I suppose. But it's not just me being targeted. Of course, libs of TikTok, Chris Rufo, and others are on the hit list. And the letter doesn't mention us by name, but it doesn't have to. Besides, there's always the media, which is here to sort of fill in the blanks for them, which they rely on. So as the Hill reports, quote, leading healthcare organizations sent a letter Monday to Attorney General Merrick Garland and called on the Department of Justice to investigate recent threats of violence against physicians, hospitals, and families that provide gender-affirming care to transgender youth. The organizations collectively represent more than 270,000 physicians and more than 220 children's hospitals nationwide. Medical facilities that provide gender-affirming health care to transgender minors have recently been the targets of online attacks. And the letter says a few high-profile users are intentionally spreading false and misleading information. Conservative commentators, including Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh, as well as right-wing social media accounts with large followings like libs of TikTok, have alleged that doctors are abusing children by prescribing puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones. Now, notice the verbiage there. First of all, we're told that we've alleged that doctors are abusing children by prescribing puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones. So which part is alleged? That doctors are prescribing these drugs or that they're abusing children by prescribing the drugs? So as always, the phrasing is intentionally vague and misleading and also false, we should note. We are not alleging that doctors are giving sterilization and castration drugs to kids. They're doing more than that too. They're mutilating kids physically through surgery. We're not alleging that. We're reporting it. We're observing it. We're pointing it out. It is a fact that this is happening, and we are calling attention to the fact. We're also not alleging that these drugs constitute abuse. Again, this is a fact according to any coherent definition of the word abuse. We are arguing that this practice is abusive, and we are presenting evidence and information to support that claim. But we know, of course, that the other side will not honestly engage with us because they cannot. They can only lie and mislead. And if that fails, they can call upon their powerful friends to have us silenced. Which brings us to the actual letter, which begins, quote, Dear Attorney General Garland, on behalf of the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and the Children's Hospital Association, collectively representing more than 270,000 physicians and more than 220 children's hospitals, we write to urge you to investigate the organizations, individuals, and entities coordinating, provoking, and carrying out bomb threats and threats of personal violence against children's hospitals and physicians across the U.S. So take special note of the words individuals and provoking. Now, if they had simply called upon the DOJ to investigate the people carrying out the alleged bomb threats, I'd have no complaint about that. Yes, if there's a bomb threat, investigate it. But they also want the federal government to bring the hammer down on the individuals who they claim are provoking these alleged threats. And it's already been made very clear that anyone who reports on what these hospitals are doing or criticizes them for it or says that they should not be doing what they're doing is inciting violence. Even if they never call for violence or say anything that could be remotely construed as an encouragement for violence, just by talking about it, they are inciting violence. So it's clear who's being referred to here. Now, continuing, from Boston to Akron to Nashville to Seattle, children's hospitals, academic health systems, and physicians are being targeted and threatened for providing evidence-based health care. These attacks have not only made it difficult and dangerous for institutions and practices to provide this care, they've also disrupted many other services to families seeking care. These coordinated attacks threaten federally protected rights to health care for patients and their families. The attacks are rooted in an intentional campaign of disinformation where a few high-profile users on social media share false and misleading information targeting individual physicians and hospitals, resulting in a rapid escalation of threats, harassment, and disruption of care across multiple jurisdictions. Organizations have called on technology companies to do more to prevent this practice on digital platforms, and we now urge your office to take swift action to investigate and prosecute all organizations, individuals, and entities responsible. Well, there it is. High-profile users on social media are targeting hospitals, which results in threats. And this is happening in places like Boston, and they mention Nashville. And they say these individuals should be investigated and prosecuted. And this is all according to three of the largest and wealthiest medical organizations in the entire world. You know, the left is losing their faith, but we're not. And a core part of that faith is prayer. I talk a lot about stressful things all day, and you might feel a little bit overwhelmed with where the country is going if you're like me, but I've got good news. Hallow can help you find some peace and hope rooted not in the government or its institutions, but in God. Hallow has over 5,000 audio-guided prayers, meditations, and peaceful Christian music, including the Rosary with Bishop Barron and Mark Wahlberg, the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, and so much more. Hallow helps you build a daily routine and a habit of prayer. It helps me to pray, meditate, and sleep better as well. It's a huge part of my daily routine. I think it will be for you as well. If you go and get an exclusive 3-month trial of Hallow at hallow.com/Matt Walsh. That's hallow.com/Matt Walsh. Reclaim your peace in this crazy world. Download Hallow today. So make no mistake here. They are explicitly stating that high-profile people, quote unquote, who criticize their practices should go to federal prison. That's what you're asking for when you're asking for the federal government to arrest somebody. They're not just saying that it should happen, they're actively calling on the Attorney General to make it happen. They intend to use the force of the federal government to silence us permanently if they can. So let me make a few points here. First of all, we are once again accused of sharing false and misleading information, to use their phrasing. And yet, once again, they fail to provide any specific example of this supposed misinformation. So I've been told a million times that what I'm saying is misinformation, what Libs of TikTok is saying is misinformation, Chris Rufo, everybody, what we're all saying is misinformation. No one's ever specified what exact part is misinformation. They don't do that because they know full well that everything we've reported about these hospitals is factual and supported by extensive documentation and evidence. We lay it all out. They also know full well that we're not saying anything that these medical establishments have not already said themselves. So the hospitals say, we provide these services. And then we say, look, these hospitals just said they provide these services. And then we get accused of misinformation. The real misinformation here is the claim that we are spreading misinformation. That itself is misinformation. It's also defamatory. Okay, the AAP and the AMA, they are lying about us with the direct and explicit intent of causing us harm. That's defamation. Second, I'm obviously well aware that the people who go around all day crying about fascism and tyranny really have no idea what these terms mean, nor do they care. But if we were living in some alternate reality where such people had integrity, then maybe they'd be concerned about this actual real-life example of authoritarian tyranny happening in their midst. Because to state again, these extraordinarily well-funded and powerful medical organizations are attempting to use the arm of the state to suppress, intimidate, and punish their critics. And not just the state. See, we see here the whole multi-headed Hydra monstrosity come into view. This is the medical establishment summoning the federal government and also the big tech monopoly to crush anyone who opposes it. And in this effort, they also get a big assist from the corporate media. So this is the system. The corporate media, the government, medical establishment, big tech. This is the system. It's the thing the left used to pretend to rage against. Yesterday, there's a woman named Brooke Binkowski, who's the managing editor of a sham fact-checking outfit. And she tweeted at me in support of the AAP's speech suppression tactic. She said, freedom of speech isn't freedom from consequences for that speech. That's the part you bootlickers always forget until it's too late. Cry more. Yet, of course, the medical establishment is trying to get the state involved. And free speech does most certainly mean that your speech should be free from government reprisal. If that's not what free speech means, then I don't know what free speech means. Which is what people like, that's what people like Brooke really mean, by the way. They don't think that free speech means anything. They don't care about it. They're too cowardly to say it. But it's her usage of the term bootlicker that really interests me, because she is here coming to the defense of the federal government, the medical establishment, big tech, and the corporate media. She is defending all of the most powerful institutions in our society, and while doing so, accusing me of being a bootlicker. No, I'm not. I'm the one that they are trying to stomp under their boot heel. Okay, me and anyone else that opposes what the medical establishment is doing to kids, we're the ones being stomped or that they're attempting to stomp. She's the one kneeling and kissing their feet. She and everybody else on the left. They rage against the machine these days by bowing before it. But will they be successful? The AAP wants Garland's goons to break down our doors and cart us away in the middle of the night at gunpoint. And is that actually going to happen? Maybe. I mean, you can't rule it out. It's exactly what they just did to that pro-life activist up in Pennsylvania. And if they'll do it on that issue to a guy like that, then they'll do it here. So, it is possible. I will say that. It's certainly a possibility. I can't control that or predict it. But what I can say is this, what I've been saying all along, which is that I truly believe that gender ideology is one of the greatest evils in human history. I don't say that lightly. It's what that's what I believe. And I believe that those of us who are in this fight are called to be here. This is our vocation. This is our mission. There's nothing they could threaten that would make me back down from this fight. You're going to have to throw me in prison or kill me because that's the only way you'll shut me up. I would actually rather be dead than surrender to this madness. For me, it's as simple as that. And that will do it for us today. We move over to the members block. Hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow, or I'll see you at Catholic University tonight. Godspeed.